Kia ora and welcome back to St Matthew's in the city, and welcome to the bell tower of St Matthew's Society of Bellringers. You've been here before, you've been up these stairs before, either in person or in other videos, but now we're going to go upstairs and visit the bells and see more about them. Well, these are the Bishop Selwyn Bells. They were cast in 1862 by the bell foundry Warners of Spitalfields, London, for the London exhibition of that year. They were the Warners' entry as part of the displays. By chance, Bishop Selwyn's wife, Lady Sarah Selwyn, happened to be in London at the time, saw the bells, and thought that they would do very nicely for Auckland's brand new cathedral. So she arranged a fundraiser with her friends, and they raised enough to purchase the bells and have them shipped to New Zealand. So they arrived in Parnell, ready to go into the cathedral there. But of course, any of you who have been to Holy Trinity Cathedral may have noticed that there isn't a tower there. And that was a small problem for the bells. So for many years, they stood in a independent standalone tower in Bishop's Court. But of course, it was never quite the same, and they could never be rung properly there. Here we have the original tower, built of timber in 1863, here at Bishop's Court. But of course, the tower, which beautiful as it is and in keeping with the rest of the building, was never really designed for the 4.5 tons of metal that the bells weigh. They couldn't be hung up there. There wasn't the room and there wasn't the strength, so they were hung down here. At this height, and this door that you can see just here used to be opened to let the sound of the bells out. Yeah, so the sound could carry forth. And here we are now in the kitchen, which is the base of the tower that we were just looking at, and looking up. So you can't go up there anymore, but that is up looking up at the tower, and this is where the bells were at ground level height, right here in what is now the kitchen. This is so cool. So a solution had to be found. And at the start of the 20th century, St Matthew's were building one of their many churches that they've had over the years, the current stone church. And so this seemed a perfect opportunity to put in a proper tower to hold these proper bells. The tower was constructed in 1905, and ringing was able to start from 1912. For many years, the bells rang here, but during the Second World War, the tower eventually fell silent, as many of the experienced ringers had gone away to conflict and then didn't come back. After the war, chiming happened here for a few years, but eventually the bells fell further and further into disrepair. At the end of the 1960s, Bill Lack convened the Bellringers again and brought them all together to restore and rehang the bells and to have them tuned to the modern octave. This involved sending the bells back to the UK, and some of the bells then broke and had to be re-sent back to the UK, which makes the number 4 bell, this one right here, arguably the most travelled bell in the world. The bells were re-blessed at Easter in 1972, so this year, 2022, marks 50 years of St Matthew's Society of Bellringers and 50 years of modern change ringing on these wonderful bells.
Named me joy.
Dean Gilbert Thurlow was Dean of Gloucester Cathedral and a graduate of Selwyn College, Cambridge, which is named after Bishop Selwyn.
Recast by John Warner and Sons, London, 1883. It's on a Whitechapel headstock. We go down below the pit of the bell. See the bell up there. And on the other side, you see the inscription, recast 1973 Whitechapel, which was part of the restoration that was undertaken 50-something years ago. In fact, it followed the restoration when this bell cracked again.
Inscription reads, Dean Martin Sullivan named me Peace. Recast 1971 by Whitechapel. Dean Martin Sullivan began his curate training at St Matthew in the City in 1934. When the bells were in London for recasting in 1971, he was then the Dean of St Paul's Cathedral. But of course, this isn't the original frame. When the bells were rehung, they were hung lower in the tower. Instead, this is the original frame. Let's go and see what's up there now. Here to tell us more about the frame is the captain of St Matthew's Society Bellringers, Adrian Grant. Adrian, tell us more about the frame.
Kia ora. So I'm here standing on the original bell frame. We found a engineer's plaque dated 1906 from when it was originally installed. The wooden frame around me, you can see the pits where the different bells hung. We are up at the level now of the wooden louvres, so when you look up the top of the tower, I'm surrounded here by the wooden louvres that used to let the sound out and travel widely across Auckland. We have 4.5 tons of bells without all the fittings that make them work. So obviously that mass of metal moving around puts a bit of stress on the tower. So at the time of the rehanging 50 years ago, the new frame was built at the lower level, which is at the level of the higher windows when you look at the outside of the tower. Just reduces the stresses on the tower a little bit, which helps with the longevity of this lovely tower in which we ring the bells.
So there's a hole, and there's a hole. This is inside the original pits. And of course, if we look down now, you can see the new pits. Ta-da! Yep.
So from here at the level of the original 1906 bell frame that we've just been looking at, you can see we're standing in a wide open space around which the sound of the bells would echo to go out of the louvres, and around the outside of which is a wooden staircase that leads to the roof. So let's take a trip up there and we can compare the view today with the view of around a century ago.